I'm now going to cover the topic of multiple LNB holders. You see in front of me an example of 3 different types of multiple LNB holders produced by Smart for Universal satellite dishes. There's a 2-way LNB holder here. It comes pre-packed. It's made of aluminium. It comes pre-packed with the LNB holder itself, plus a Allen key, which is the only tool you really need for this. And then there's a 3-way version of this, which is very similar to the 2-way, except another section added on. Now, just in quick reference, we're going to mention the 4-way LNB holder. It's quite different in design than the other ones, so it'll be dealt with in a different video. And basically, while these LNB holders attach directly onto the LNB, which is bolted to the dish, this LNB holder actually bolts onto the dish and holds the LNBs itself, okay? So that's specifically on our product range currently. It's only used with a 110 centimeter dish. So moving back anyway to the 2-way LNB holder here. I have this LNB holder here partly assembled. So what I'm going to do now is I'm simply going to come along and get this LNB here and slot it in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just drop in this LNB, the bottom bracket of this LNB holder in here. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly, this probably isn't fantastic from a video perspective, hopefully you'll be able to see it better now. I'm just going to manually turn that nut to lock it into position. And now a quite clever design in this is the hole on the top here is sufficiently wide to let the Allen key slot in. So just continue to hold the nut on the bottom and tighten that in. You can tighten it home all the way. And repeat the same process on the far side. We simply slot a nut in here. Initially tighten it manually, and what we want to do is that obviously we want the general orientation of these 2 LNBs to be much the same, and also we want to grab the LNB as much as possible towards the back of the LNB, and the reason for that will become apparent in a few moments. So anyway, we'll just lock this into position. Now it's possible to retrofit this directly onto a satellite dish that already has an LNB on it. But I find it preferable to take off the LNB, just fit the 2 LNBs into the holder and then put it back in the dish. So an example of the satellite dishes we could possibly use this with. Well, if we look here, we have an example on the extreme right here of a Smart 110 centimeter satellite dish. So you can see currently we have a single LNB mounted on it. We could attach this LNB holder on and hold the second or third LNB here. Equally, we could do it with a 60 centimeter dish. Now, 60 centimeter dish generally you wouldn't use LNB holders on them, multiple LNB holders on it, but it is physically possible to do it. But for technical reasons, you wouldn't normally. And an 80 centimeter dish, which quite commonly would use a 60 or a 2 or 3-way LNB holder with. And when would you use it? Well, it's a very specific instance where we have 2 satellites in the sky that are quite close together, and we want to use a single satellite dish to pick them up. So what we will do is we will align the satellite dish for one particular satellite, for example Astra 2, and have a second LNB at an angle off that's picking up a signal directly from Hotbird. So it's technically quite demanding to do this, but it's rewarding in terms of a single dish feeding in 2 cables, and 2 cables generally are run into something here which we have on the bench in front of us, which are DISEC switches. So you can have a 2-way DISEC switch and a 4-way DISEC switch. So you can see LNB1, LNB2. So for instance, Hotbird and Astra 2 would feed in here, feed out a single cable which would go to a DISEC enabled switch, such as our receiver, such as the Triax TR1 or SR110, and then what we can have is we can actually have 2 different satellites feeding into a single box quite seamlessly. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to just fit this double LNB holder directly onto this 80 centimeter dish here. So I'm just going to rotate it here, hopefully give you a good angle, and what we'll have here is the basic. You can see here now why we mounted the LNBs at the back, because we want to leave room for the collar here of the actual satellite dish, so we can actually mount this LNB directly onto the dish. So what I've done here now is the only other tool that didn't come with the pack that we'll need at this point would be a Phillips screwdriver. So you can just see here we screw this in. I'm going to screw this in all the way because we want to give a quite realistic intention of it. So so the setup on these things, I have to admit now, although I've installed thousands of satellite dishes in my day, I've never actually put up one of these things, but they're quite a popular product that we sell on the website. So, you know, I would say it's possible, but probably quite a level of technical experience needed to get these just right, because you're trying to align a single satellite dish for two separate satellites, which is somewhat technically demanding. So what we need to do now is you come along and you have the LNBs here. So you might find that for a particular satellite setup, the LNBs need to be slightly further apart or closer together. So what we can do here is we can use the Allen key here for two purposes. Number one, we can loosen these nuts, which will allow us to slide this LNB holder over or back to make them closer or further away. So it'll extend them out to the full extent. I'll just lock it into position at that. And now we will equally on this particular one, but not on all LNB holder things, or multiple LNB holders here. It's actually possible to loosen this nut here, and you might actually be able to change the elevation or the angle of the thing. So we can see here, we can slot here to have an almost level with it, or we can have it at an angle of about 10 or 12 degrees. So this again might assist in the actual setup of the satellite dish. So that's it. Normally here we'd have the two cables coming out, and as I suggested there, the dielectric switch will be mounted somewhere at the back. Two cables that come there. You push in this dielectric switch on a single cable. So this forms a watertight seal, and a single cable runs into a satellite receiver inside. So that's it in terms of the two-way. And the three-way, we can see it's almost identical, except there's an extra section that would be added on here. So a third LNB could be mounted here, one either side of the main satellite dish, or you know, two on the one side, depending on the particular orientation of the satellites. So hopefully that gives people a good overview of how to, the purpose of, the need for, and the installation of a two and three-way multiple LNB holders.